Good.
Oh,
Great.
Oh.
Recording in progress.
Calling the meeting of the-
And please, just a reminder to use your microphone so that people out in Zoom land can hear you.
Calling our meeting of the Public Arts Committee to order. Roll call. Lars?
I'm here.
Robert?
Here.
Here. Jeff?
Here.
Margie? Here. Very good. Approval of minutes? None. Next. Comments from the public on items not on the agenda? None. Yes?
You're not the public.
But we don't have a comment time for our board members.
No.
If you would, so
If you want to put that on the agenda, we can discuss it.
if the protocol is actually, you are still a member of the public, if you'd like to make a comment as a member of the public, you may do so at the speaker podium to separate you from being a board member. So we have had council members do that before when they want to make a comment.
Oh,
Thank you,
nice.
Carrie.
How
Thank you, Robert.
exciting.
Good to know
I
after
stand
all
correct-
these
I stand
years.
corrected.
This is
Oh,
new
here's
new
one.
terrain
Who
here
was the
for the Public Art Committee.
What?
New terrain for the Public Art
terrain.
Committee here.
I just wanted to let you know that I had a conversation with Frank Locatell, with whom we had lunch in his granite sculpture garden, and about whether he might submit one to the CSG. And he said that he has made an arrangement with the Burbank Center to donate all 6 of his Bruce Johnson sculptures for permanent display there.
Wow.
And they are also taking a couple of his sculptures, including the tall one with the 3 holes that we all admired. And so they will all be going there, and he will not be submitting to the CSG.
It's too bad.
The Burbank Center in Santa Rosa?
Yes. And by the way, their new sculpture display is really wonderful, but you must go at dusk because they didn't say in their announcements about it, but most of the sculptures have light as a component. And you want to go when it's just getting dark.
So there must be room up there for all these pieces
I
then.
don't know where they're going to put them all, because the sculpture walk is a changing exhibit,
Mhm.
and it's full right now with the
Right.
geometry of art exhibit that they've got there, which is lovely. So I don't know where they're going to put all those Bruce Johnson pieces. We saw them in his front yard, and he has some seriously major pieces.
So his name is Frank, right?
Frank
wouldn't-
Locatell is.
He wouldn't be willing to withhold one for our
I
sculpture?
actually had that conversation with Frank and asked if he would consider donating one to the city rather than to the Burbank,
Yeah.
same tax deduction. But he considered it for a week and called me back and said that he wanted his collection to stay together.
Oh, yeah. Oh, well, thank you, Robert, because that's pretty helpful. It's too bad.
I worked on it.
Yeah, you sure
Yeah.
did.
Thank
Thank
you,
you very
Robert.
much.
And FYI, Brianna Hendren has a piece there as
Oh,
well.
yeah.
What?
Brianna Hendren
Yes.
has a piece up there at the LBC sculpture walk also.
Uh-huh.
Mhm. Great.
I wonder how they're doing in terms of vandalism.
Well, that's a good question. I wonder if they have I'm
So,
sure they have a lot of security
sorry.
intact.
I believe we have the sculpture garden on the
Oh.
agenda. If the committee wants to, so you can
Mhm.
take public comment, but you can't react to public comment.
Oh.
However, I mean, this is a little unusual, and Robert, I might have actually had you do that during the item as an update, but our public comment at the beginning of the meetings is for items not on the agenda. If as a PAC committee member, you have a comment for an item that is on the agenda, that would happen during that item.
Would
Just
you like
for
to
future
slap my
reference.
hand?
No, I'm just letting you know, because you could actually have said that as part of the committee or a member of the public, whichever you wanted at
That's
that
so
time.
confusing.
So it's fine. We're not disrupting the board's business, I don't think. But just so you know, if you have further discussion, you should just hold it for that agenda item.
Thank you.
Good. Can I clarify something? Are we really a board or a committee?
You're a committee, but you are subject to the Brown Act because you are a standing ordinance defined committee with responsibilities outlined in the ordinance, which
Okay.
includes,
think of-
recommendations on funding and
Mhm.
things like that for public art. So.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, onward. Statements of conflict of interest.
Well, Robert's a public member as a committee member. Is that a conflict of interest?
Moving on. Regular agenda items. A, letter to Cloverdale. So, as you may have noticed, Carrie pointed out that in order to send the letter as a group, as a committee, we needed to meet and vote on it. And you've all seen the letter. I did send a copy from me and got a response saying thank you, and that he was forwarding it to one of the people I had also sent it to. But would we like to send this letter of support and commiseration, sympathy as a group? Is there any discussion, or should we vote? Discussion.
Part of the discussion would be, has to be submitted to the council first.
I think this is not a this is just a letter of support. I think this is fine
Okay.
from the committee.
Thank you.
Well, I think it's a good letter, and I think it's great that we would tell them how we feel and
Thank you.
support them.
Yeah.
And then I had something else to add, but I'll wait till we're finished with this part of it.
Okay. Okay. So are we ready to vote on it, or did you want
Right,
to add
and so I
something
do
before?
have the letter up on the screen
Ah.
if anyone wanted to see or had any edits to it or anything like that.
Is this an eye test?
Yeah.
No, I'm trying to do it as close as I
Okay.
can. But I can zoom in too. That's
It's a letter that you sent to us.
Yes.
yeah. This was part of your packet and has been agendized. So
Mhm.
this is an opportunity. But if anybody did want to make any further comments on it, it's available on screen.
Thank you.
Did you have something before we vote?
No.
No, okay,
afterwards.
something else. Okay, so I propose that we send it as a group with as a committee with each of our names.
I'll
Second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? Okay, now we can send. So, and how do we send?
Actually, Margie,
Yes.
it looks like we might have a public comment. We have someone with their hand raised.
Oh, good.
So again, let's see, we have,
Well, let's complete this and then we'll go to the public comment.
so you need to
no,
take
it
the
may
public
be
comment
on this topic.
before
Oh,
you
it's on
act
this?
on
Okay,
something.
sorry.
Yes.
I didn't want to.
Okay.
Okay, so Susie, can you unmute? And so we'll go ahead and call on Mike.
I hope next.
Okay, that was spam and they have been removed from the meeting. So you can continue with your motion and your vote.
This is a thing.
That was spam.
That's one of
Yeah,
those.
there's been a few
One of those.
Zoom bombs. There's been.
Okay,
one
so
Zoom
how do we
bomb.
proceed to send it? Do you do it?
So what
Should
we
we do
can
it?
do is Susie can put this with today's date, obviously, instead of last week's when it was drafted, onto city letterhead and have it be coming from the committee, and we can get that off to them, or we can give it to you to get it off to them as the chair of the committee as well.
Whichever is most appropriate.
Okay, we can work that out with you. If you-
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Okay.
And I already forwarded this.
Margie, thank you for doing that letter.
You're welcome. Yeah, that's really too bad.
Yeah.
Kids.
Well, I hope that motivates and stimulates other people on the committee to consider our security in our public art. Okay, moving on.
Well, can I have
Barbara
one
had a-
comment about
Yes,
the-
go for it.
Well, I think Cloverdale's very active in their public art installations and choices. It'd be great if this may be the opportunity for us to have more affiliation with them, especially when we have call to artists. So I'm wondering if we can somehow ask them to put us at the top of their list of activities to help us get the word out. That we have 2 calls for entries.
Okay, can you hold that for the discussion? Well, this is B. Yes, we're here. So
Oh, okay.
strategize the PR calls so that it's right in sync for that.
Good, because I think they have a lot of people that are interested in what they're doing, a lot of the artists that respond well to their calls and their choices and all that stuff. So they might come in handy.
Okay, so if we wanted in a subsequent, a different communication with them to do that,
And is there a point person? Is there someone who
yeah,
might
we
be
need
able
a
to
point
take
person. Yeah.
take that message to whomever? I don't know how they do their call for entries.
If I may, I already did that with Healdsburg and Petaluma
Mhm.
and the Sebastopol Center for the Arts, who had received it but hadn't done anything with it. And I've spoken personally to people at each of those,
Mhm.
and I'm happy to call the organizations in Cloverdale. And I think it's best to speak to somebody, be sure they're aware of it, and resend it to them for publication in whatever they do that goes out to their list. But let me ask Carrie or Susie, do we know if either of those organizations that this letter is going to are already on the list to whom we have sent our 2 calls?
And
I can look at that right now. They may have been, but that does not mean that, or a personal,
Oh,
contact,
yeah, absolutely.
certainly.
I just,
But yeah, if
it's
they have it or
easier
not.
if I know whether we have communicated with them already.
so it would be
Let
the
me s-
Cloverdale Arts Alliance and the Geyserville Arts something or other.
All right, it'll take me a second to look
Okay,
that
well,
up.
while we're doing that, let me just say, in my notes from last meeting, and maybe we can have reports from people, so don't do it this moment, but just let me list it. So Barbara I have down for outreaching to Creative Sonoma,
Mhm.
Press Democrat, publications, other publications, Richard Nichols for
Mhm.
Sebastopol Walk.
Mhm.
And so I'd love to hear a report from that. And then
Mhm.
Robert,
Oh, good, the
Got
fly.
him. Well, still
thank you,
quivering. there.
Robert. Okay, Robert, I have down for the Art Center, which you just mentioned,
And Petaluma and Healdsburg.
Petaluma and Healdsburg. And I think that's, I should, yeah.
That was the list
We
I
had
thought. I
Tremere
took.
and Ren Brown, and I'm not sure who was on that.
Oh, I can do Chimera.
Okay,
I'll add, okay, and I'll follow up on the others. But I'll wait
Okay.
for my report.
so now, can we hear from?
I
since
did
we've
have
already
that,
began.
I did have that conversation with Ren Brown at the gala at the Art Center.
Okay,
I don't think he's going to put it in his newsletter, which is a sales tool for him. But I asked him to put it in his mind with any sculptors that he knew for either of those.
Mhm.
But, he deals one-on-one pretty much with all the artists, so.
Yeah, but word of mouth, I think that's a great idea. To literally speak with people, which I think is very important once we do this outreach. It usually goes to an editor or even only a PO box, et cetera. So to follow up, I think is really important.
Yep.
To make a contact with one point person. And I had asked Susie in an email this morning to give us each a copy of the list. I could get it on my screen, but when I printed it out, it was all difficult to manage. So were you able to?
Yeah, so
Oh,
Susie's
good.
got some, she
Thank
can
you.
pass those out right
Thank you.
now and
Because that'll
just,
help.
Yep.
us know to whom, to actually see that list and amend it if we have to. I was going to say though, and to include Geyserville, because their sculpture walk up there is very, very, thank you so much for doing that.
So after we have the reports from you all, we did last meeting talk about dividing up the list and being the point person, communicating with a point person and following up. So we'll do that after we get the reports.
Okay.
And by the way, in terms of PR also, Suzie has put some great flyers. Physical paper flyers are out there if you want to hand them.
Oh,
Take
good.
some, hand them out
Yes.
to be posted on
Yes.
businesses and so on, stores. Yeah, so remember to take those with you. Okay, so Robert, any more report on your outreaches of the organizations?
No,
Okay, the Art Center said what?
they put it in their newsletter.
Uh-huh.
Petaluma said that they would. Healdsburg is kind of dysfunctional at this point. There are no employees there. I will be at a meeting on Thursday, which will include a bunch of people from the arts community there. I am trying to sell them my building as an art center.
Oh, wow. Which one is that?
Well, I have a 5,600 square foot empty office building that's a block off of the main area of Healdsburg and has 30 parking spaces and would be ideal as a art center where they could have classes and so
Oh,
on.
nice.
And, there's a long way from here to there, but I am working with groups in Healdsburg to see if it can be accomplished. The city is interested.
Great.
Wow, that is great. Good for you.
But anyway,
Anyway,
so I will be on Thursday with a bunch of people in the arts community, and I will take flyers
great.
with me.
Thank you. Okay, Barbara.
So I've done my outreach too, but I'm planning obviously to follow up. But I don't have, it's hard to get a person. And I think that Creative Sonoma has not replaced Kristen. Is that right?
I don't know anything
I
about
thought
it.
maybe one of us would know. I
Oh, I
thought
thought
I
they
would
had,
know.
but I could be
Oh, I don't know who
wrong.
it is.
Oh, okay.
Their most recent newsletter didn't mention that.
Okay.
There's a lot of money going to be going to the art education in the county, so they're going to need something happening. But I do have a question about the list, and that would be, is that okay to ask
Well,
this question?
can you finish your reports?
Well, it's kind of in.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so I had mentioned the art trails and art at the source sculptors.
Mhm.
I don't know how much of Susie's time we have, but is it possible to get an hour or so of it to go through those catalogs and identify the sculptors and put them on this list? Because I think we need to expand this list to individuals more actively,
Yeah.
to all the sculptors that we have access to in the county, because they know each other. And, there's that Artistry in Wood is opening up at the library, Sonoma County Museum again. There'll be a lot of people there, so we can give them flyers. But I think if we have individuals, I think it gets lost in the shuffle of maybe appearing in a newsletter if we're lucky. But then we're relying upon those that are members to read it. Not everyone's a member of the organizations of their locales. So I'm just thinking if we could expand this list, it would take some time. And since you have access to the main, the initial list to add to it. And I could go through and get you a catalog and identify.
That would be helpful.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let me do that. So I'll do the art trails and arts of source.
So
And then,
I'm just wondering, I remember someone saying that the Sebastopol Center for the Arts was now kind of the source for art trails and art at the source. Is that
They always
they
correct?
run it.
They
It's
have
their
been
program
for more than
years.
10 years.
Yes, well, wouldn't they have that list by sculptors?
Well, they have it in their database when they produce the catalog.
Uh-huh.
I don't know that that means
Well, I'm
that's a
just
whole
saying
nother
they
layer.
may have that list rather than have to create
Oh,
it again.
I
know.
don't know how it's, I don't know
Right.
how
If,
it's
if they'd be
categorized.
willing to share that with us,
Yes,
it would
yeah.
There's
obviously
probably
save that
only-
amount of time
Okay.
of just
Yeah,
data
there are probably
entry.
only 10
Yeah.
on each environment.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I don't know who to ask over there because I don't know who's in charge of
Sure.
it this year.
Sure.
I mean, I participate in Art at the Source, but that doesn't give me access to the database.
I put that on my list.
To talk to them about getting the sculptors to Suzie?
I'm going to ask them to email our flyer directly to their list of
Okay, but
artists.
we still need it permanently on our list. We need those sculptors.
So they may or may not share that information with us, but Robert is our liaison to that organization because of his seat. There is actually a seat on the Public Art Committee that is specifically liaison.
Oh, I didn't realize
And
that, and I didn't
that
realize it
is,
was
yeah,
you.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
oh, that's good to know. Okay,
Well,
that does
I'm-
not
I'm-
guarantee, however, that they end up on our list.
Correct,
So,
correct.
I mean.
So if you were to go through and highlight, these are the people, these
You know
people should
what?
be
I will go
included, that
through
would be
and I
great.
will give Susie the name and the email address.
Perfect.
That's good. Okay,
Then we can add those to our list pretty easily.
then
Yeah.
that'll.
Yeah, and if you just are
eliminate-
able to email those to her, then yes, that's super easy for her to cut and paste and
Good.
get it all on the same list.
Thank you.
Yep.
Because I think that's important. And in our travels, if and when we do come upon a sculptor, to be able to send it to be a part of the list. Because I think that's going to help when we have some people
Yes,
rather
thank
than
you.
organizations or in
Or
addition.
both, yeah,
In
both.
addition, yeah.
Thank you, Barbara.
Sure.
That's great.
Thanks.
And then,
Remember?
as we go along too, each of us see sculptures and we've often shared those photos. And in Sonoma County, for instance, we could make a list of those, like, well, I'm thinking about it for myself, the eco sculptures, recycle sculptures that I just sent a picture. Well, there's
Mhm,
that
mhm.
artist, is that a local artist? And then there's the mosaic person who's got work in different places. There's a couple different mosaic artists I've sent photos of. And so each of you may have, and let's think about getting those artists' names, as Barbara was suggesting, specific sculptures, and sending them to Zuzi. Can we do that? Yes. Okay. So that's it. That's the
Thank you.
suggestion. that
Yeah,
we do
yeah. Now that
send them
you
to her.
have this list, if you do have contacts to add,
Mhm.
you can
Great.
go ahead and send this to Susie. They'll get added to this list. And
Yes,
then this will
good.
be, this is the one list for call for entries.
Good.
I have two
Good.
comments. First of all, the director position with Creative Sonoma is still available as of 5 days ago. So
Oh, good.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
please don't make any calls about that one,
All right.
unless you're interested in it. And the second one is at some point we may need to discuss actually increasing our diameter, if you will, of interest. I know the whole purpose behind the CSG particularly is trying to get local artists, but we might have to push it a little bit bigger than that. So at some
Mhm.
point,
What are you thinking when you say that?
I'm thinking of the city, I'm thinking of Marin, just
Yeah,
neighboring
different
counties.
Mhm.
Expand
As
the
well.
counties.
Mhm.
Yeah, and maybe we need to get in touch with other universities who might have pretty active art programs
Right.
too.
Has
you. I think
anybody
that's great.
contacted the sculpture teachers at
Sonoma State.
Sonoma State and at SRJC?
No, but they should be on this list.
This was sent to Michael McGinnis, but so, that's obviously one contact,
Yeah,
but not to the departments in general. And if we had contacts, that would be great.
So
And even-
I'll take that on. I'll call SSU and SRJC, at least to start with.
Oh,
do
great.
you know Michael?
I've met him.
I do.
That's as far as it
Good
goes.
enough.
And
I mean, I do
Jeff,
know him, but
Well, it's okay. You could do that.
the
Mhm.
University Art Gallery too. They have a new director and they have a lot of information, a lot of people that they access. Good. I think
Wonderful.
this list could be really helpful in the future and when we have a master like this.
Excellent. Thank you for putting that forward, Barbara, and for everybody picking up on it. That's excellent. Very good. And so as of now, we still don't have any new submissions?
So I'll ask Susie for an update on that, since she's the one tracking.
So we have one submission for the CSG call.
Oh, who is that?
who is that from?
It's Peter Compton.
Oh, that's
Wow.
nice. But not for the
Great.
other, not for the county. Oh,
Not for the other one.
Huh, well, good.
Okay.
That's from you sending the letter.
There you have it.
See, sometimes people just don't, it's the timing.
No, Robert said he sent him a letter.
Yeah, I know,
Yeah,
that's
it's
what I
good.
mean.
And it's timing,
Mhm,
yes.
It's when
yes.
people are paying attention, just like me. Us.
So, yeah,
Okay.
one of the things on this is just, we've started in terms of who we'll contact, but any other ways, we have mentioned some things that we can stir up interest, because there are those wonderful platforms and your sculpture here. And we did talk last time about possibly a sculpture walk. And that was a little bit what Lars, in the realm of your parades, I think, huh? Then there was going to be contact with the people who do the walks. Who was do that? Sebastopol walk.
That's Richard Nickel.
Mhm.
He
Okay.
doesn't lead them, but he organizes it.
Okay, and who was going to contact him?
Me.
And did you?
Yes, and he still has a show at the Sebastopol Library till Sunday.
He what?
He still has an exhibit at the Sebastopol Library till Sunday if you want to see it. He's a found object sculptor.
Okay.
But I'll remind him,
Yes.
that's all. I mean, people,
Yeah, please. No,
Busy.
about doing, tell him why. that,
yes,
you know.
yes.
Yeah, okay. Okay, and then what other things we talked about as other ways of stirring up interest? Anybody have any other ideas?
Well,
Things we can do?
I think having these flyers, I mean, I love carrying stuff like that in my car, so if I am interested in giving them to somebody, I have them. So, like Chimera has a open house the first Friday of every month, I think it's the first, and they have a lot of people there, so I'll be happy to take them with me when I go. That
Okay.
kind of thing, just leaving them places where people congregate is helpful.
So all the organizations and that you all have contacted, if they, like the Ren Brown, would they be willing to put up a flyer there? I know they don't have a bulletin board,
Yeah,
but they
I doubt
might
it.
have a spot where they, no, not, all right.
You know, I would hesitate to
Okay.
ask Ren to do
Yeah,
that.
Okay.
I agree.
All right, and then there's the art galleries in
Although, by the
town.
way, at the
Yes.
dinner, he did buy the turned bowl that I put in their auction for almost twice what the value was
Oh,
and
that's
4
nice.
times what the minimum bid was. So
That
Good,
you made?
I did.
Wonderful,
great.
excellent, congratulations.
I just had a couple of thoughts
Yes.
on the PR. So, and perhaps someone could update us on contact with the PD, maybe in Sebastopol Times. We might need to try to push the PD to get some kind of a feature on the CSG.
Well, Stan Taylor, and I'll try again.
I know
Right, in
from
the
my
article, it
dealings in the
contained
past,
something.
their response was, "Well, you have a newspaper."
So,
Which-
and I did speak with Laura Hager, Rush of the Sebastopol Times. Actually, at the time, it was the airport noise study thing that was
Oh,
going
yeah.
on. But I did let her know that we had so that was right before the call came out. I did let her know we had a commission call coming out, and that we also had the sculpture call out. So I can contact her again. I mean, again, she was like, okay, let's do the story on the airport stuff first. But now that is done, I will contact her again and see if we can't
There was
get
one recently
the call.
for the sculpture garden.
The-
In the Times edition.
The PD would be more important. If
Yeah,
They
well,
would, they
a
would do an
larger
article.
outreach. Yeah, it'd be great. I'll try
Does it-
again.
Who is it at the PD?
It's still Dan Taylor.
And you've tried to call and
I've
gotten-
left messages, but I'll try again.
Yeah, if they would do a short article and
Mhm.
that'd sure be good.
Barbara, I encourage you to go higher than Dan.
Oh,
If he's not getting back to you,
okay.
go up the ladder.
Okie dokie.
Because I think when I talked to Holly about the PD, and she said, well, they want, have an event. Well, we have an event. We have a.
Right, having a commission call out is
Yes, yes, And one
definitely
on the-
definitely a
one on-
bona fide.
on the way, but focusing on this one for now.
Mhm.
Yeah. And
Okay,
Yeah. thank you, Barbara. That's
sure, I'll do it
important.
again. Yeah, he's been there at least 30 years at the PD.
What?
He's been there at least 30 years, Dan, and he was the entertainment editor, and then he was the arts editor, and then anyways.
Well, it's great, but as he isn't getting back to you, we can spread out that. Anything about in radio? Anybody have any local radio stations that might?
Oh, yeah, KSRO, I think that, yeah, maybe I wonder if that, yeah. And then the Crush. Steve Jackson, I think, moved over there, didn't he? He has that, maybe we can contact him. Let me do that.
Which one?
Crush. Okay, good.
Okay, KRCB, anybody?
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Are they on our list here? No, see, this will be helpful to get this list really.
Right, and so I am just trying to like write down these,
Oh,
and I'm
good.
going, oh, well, yeah, Chimera.
Sure.
Okay, Jim Wheaton should get this to spread around as well via
mhm.
email. And I heard the chair say the Sebastopol art galleries, and of course, there's the Art and Soul store on the
Right.
south. The art associated businesses in town for sure. And then for other outreach where it's not necessarily an email or a specific person, but if we do have contacts, and if you're able to develop contacts with KSRO, the Crush, KRCB, we can include those in here. And so we'll have it not just for this call, but for all
Right.
future stuff too.
Great, good,
And then
thanks.
since we're talking about radio, there is local TV.
There is?
Isn't there?
No, I don't think any,
KK,
no, I don't think there's any TV.
KRCB.
KRCB, thank you.
I
They
think
ha-
they have
they-
TV. Oh, they used to have TV
Yeah, they
also.
do, but isn't it just a kind of a syndication?
No
type
idea.
Medium?
Well, they must do some local.
I don't know, we'll see.
Um,
TV and radio.
Someone came here we were just talking about that locally.
Huh.
It's a big deal.
Along the same lines as art galleries or art supply businesses, which I totally agree with. Maybe, I don't know if there's any merit in looking at other places that supply artist materials like junkyards or the steel supply, those kinds of things. I don't know.
Well, you know what they usually have are bulletin boards that you can post something like at Riley Street. They'll put only their own stuff in their newsletter, but you can always use their bulletin board. And Battea Salvage, just lay it on their on their whatever. But yeah, I think those flyers are a great idea to have them available to us so we can take them places.
I can take one to Art and Soul. I've done that in the past. Anyone near Riley Street or can take it to there?
Yeah, I will.
Okay, thank you, Barbara.
Yeah, this is good. This is getting us out
What
and
we
about.
need,
Mhm.
because,
I actually have
Yeah.
a list of 42 ceramic instructors from when I did a ceramics show in the gallery at SCA. It's 10 years old, but I'll send it to
Sure,
them.
that'd be helpful.
wonderful. Yeah,
I think it's all makes sense.
we have a ceramic sculpture in the garden. So.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, that's, yeah.
Anybody have any contacts with mosaic people?
Well, the Creative Ceramics up north there, could always put up something there.
Oh, I know, Create It in town.
Creative ceramics.
Yeah, but
That store in town?
Oh,
creative,
no, Creative
Oh.
Ceramics
Yes.
is by the airport, and this is Art and Soul.
Yes,
No,
but I'm
she's
talking about something in
there's a
addition.
store next to Screaming Mimi's where you can paint
Yeah.
your own
paint
ceramics.
your own stuff.
Yeah, but they
Cre-
may
Oh,
have
it's
contacts.
It's called Create
Yeah,
It.
that's a-
They
yeah,
also
that's
did-
not the
They
same.
also did glass.
Yeah,
I
not,
don't think they know anyone.
Well,
no.
it can't hurt.
Can't hurt. Have
You
a
never
flyer
know
there.
somebody's father,
Yeah, right.
mother.
I can bring them a flyer. All right, excellent.
Excuse me, Susie, how many I can't see from here, but do we have a bunch of them over there? And, or can we get a whole bunch more printed? And we could pick them up from you where,
From the City Hall,
City Hall. Where-
right next to the library.
Yeah, but are you guys ever open?
Yeah, we're open.
Oh, you are?
7:30 to
Oh, I thought-
noon,
oh.
12:30 to 5,
Okay,
Monday
well-
through Thursday.
The
Yep.
door is open again.
And then for the Jordan Trail call, I did give that, send that out to the regional park folks to share with their board members. But I'm actually was just kind of thinking that I can send both that and the sculpture call I'm on a list technical group with all of the other park
Oh,
directors in the county. So, I can certainly send it to all of them. And
great. Good.
if they have community centers, art centers, that kind of stuff, they can
Could that,
hopefully post it there too.
could you include Marin County and Mendocino County?
Well, I don't have their contacts.
Oh, okay.
I have all the Sonoma County
'Cause when we-
contacts.
Thinking
'cause-
of region, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I haven't updated on
But if anyone does, like I know someone who just turned
Oh.
90,
Oh,
who was on the
nice.
Point Richmond,
Yeah,
or
okay.
used to
She's
be.
actually
She's
Really?
just retiring from the
Just
Point Richmond
started.
Art Center, so I can
Okay.
certainly
Yeah, so-
Oh, great.
ask her who the current contact is now that
Oh,
she's
good.
retired.
Oh, wow, at 90. Woof. That's good.
So are we kind of sliding over to include agenda item C now?
Could I make one last comment
Please.
before you move to C? So in terms of PR, this may not really lure artists, but the Sonoma County Tourism Office.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it seems like they should have at least some photographs of the CSG or anything else going on in Sebastopol.
Yeah.
I'm happy to deliver those after making a phone call to them to see if they would accept that.
Yeah, it would be, I'm curious if they would help us publicize something like this. I know they do events, obviously, but I don't, yeah, it's interesting for.
Yeah, and I think I do have contacts at the Sonoma County Economic Development Board.
Mhm.
So they could,
Mhm.
I'm sure they'd be happy to distribute it as well.
Okay,
Is
good.
that comparable to our Chamber of Commerce, or do we have another one?
They are the countywide body. They actually have a group that meets that I'm part of, includes a lot of the chambers, but also the economic development directors for various cities around the county. So they're kind of the economic development entity for the county. And they do work closely with the tourism board as well, because obviously the two are intertwined here.
So being in touch with them would therefore it be including the chambers of commerce?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
Thank
And
you.
don't
Yeah, they
forget-
would have those contacts.
Well, those are on our list here already.
But those are on our, yeah, we have those directly as well, obviously,
And
that are
creative-
already on the list.
Creative Sonoma is a program of the Economic Development Board for the county.
Correct.
What about Paradise Ridge? Is that worth reaching out to them?
Well,
Yes.
yeah, the art comes
They
from the White
certainly
families.
have a list of sculptures.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a
Paradise
good one,
Ridge.
Paradise Ridge. And I think that, what's the woman that you named who has a sculpture at, earlier? I think she's their curator.
Oh,
Does anyone know her?
Brianna?
Yes, so she has a sculpture in our sculpture garden
She did?
already, and I believe we
Oh.
sent this
Yes.
to everyone who's a current
so
sculptor there as
she-
well.
So
Yeah,
she would know.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah, so in terms of, just to clarify, how are we contacting them? Paradise Ridge and Brianna?
she's already,
Brianna's
Carrie
on
just
our-
said, because she's in the CSG now, she's been contacted.
But
She
she-
has
Well,
been contacted.
nonetheless,
she's not on this
I
list.
think somebody should call her and
Yes.
say, did you mail that to all the sculptors you know through?
Okay, I was in touch with her
But see,
for the CSG, so I could do that unless there's someone else who wants to
but
do
she's
that.
not even on this list.
Brianna?
I don't see her.
So I don't think we had, so we have some, this is for the sculpture call, as well as all of the current sculptors who have sculptures there. We didn't include those on this list.
Okay.
We do also have another list, which is a lot of individual names of sculptures. We don't have them here because And we can probably just get the names without the emails printed to make a public document. We don't necessarily want to advertise people's emails when it's posted on our website, public document, for spam reasons. But we can get that list. They're outside of the Sonoma County, so they're not necessarily eligible for the sculpture garden, but they have the call for the third call, the commissioned call.
Mhm.
And even if they're outside, they may know some sculptors who are inside.
Yeah, they are, yeah, they just.
Spread
That's
the
true,
word,
that's true,
Get
yeah.
them talking.
I think having one master list, and if somebody's not interested, they just won't respond. But that doesn't mean that they is valid or
And they may know
viable.
someone, yeah.
So can we get all those onto this list, which is not made public?
Yeah, we can get both of those,
Yeah.
those lists merged.
Oh, good, that would be great. And then then Brianna will be on that
Okay,
list.
and so expanding our discussion to include the third commission. Comments, items on that?
Just one follow-up quick, the Paradise
Sure.
Ridge, does someone have a contact for them?
For whom?
Well, it would be Brianna because she's.
It is
curator.
Paradise,
And I
okay,
said I
great.
would be in touch with her unless you want to do that, Carrie.
Because I read that she was the new curator there.
On item C, I sent the call documents and links directly to Tori and Kendra Johnson, and they responded that they will fill those out and submit one of Bruce's pieces.
Oh, good.
I am aware of which piece they're going to send because it's at Tori's house, which is just outside Forestville, and I went by and looked at it. And perhaps they'll submit more than one, I don't know.
Did you feel like it met the criteria for that?
And
space?
actually,
Yeah.
I'm going
We
to
can do
stop
that.
you
We
right
can do
there
that.
because you cannot evaluate sculptures
Oh,
prior to the call closing. So
Okay.
please, no
Sorry.
discussion
I
on
wasn't
any of
gonna-
No,
that.
he was,
I
I
wasn't
noticed,
either.
we're careful, but
I know
Thank
it's
you.
hard to, it's hard
Good
to
to be
keep that in
reminded.
mind, but I will try. It
Yes.
doesn't make any sense, but that's okay.
it's the rules.
I know.
Okay.
It does make sense.
Gotta go by the.
Well, but kind of,
You have to wait for everybody
Ask State
to,
Senator Brown.
yeah. I understand the rationale. It just feels like, yeah,
Okay,
okay.
onward.
Think about it this way. If you were applying for a job, you wouldn't want someone else to be talking about someone else's application before the application
That's
period
true.
closed.
That's
Thank
true.
Think about it that
Nice.
way.
All
Very
right,
nice.
that makes more sense.
Okay, other things on the third commission.
So we had talked at one point about websites that are sort of clearinghouses for competitions for these kind of commissions. I know for architecture, there's architecture competitions that there's just here's which competitions are happening around the world that you can be part of. So I think you had a
Yeah,
connection
that
on
was
one of
Art
those.
News, and I gave you guys the information,
Okay.
and they did that.
Okay.
Well, where did you find, where is yours found, Lars, for the architects? Is there a publication?
Yeah, there's a website. I don't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but
But maybe that's not a bad idea to include them because
Sure.
they have access to a lot of sculptors.
Mhm.
or architects for that
Yeah.
matter.
Sculpture Magazine, by the way, has
Mhm.
no free method of doing it, and when you beat them over the head to give you an idea, because they do it by counts of some kind, it would be at least $2,000.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well,
And they don't want to do a little
They don't have a
news.
structure for that.
mhm,
Okay, so they're.
right.
Well, we're not news to Sculpture Magazine.
No, it's
Okay.
not. It's an opportunity, though. It's too bad they don't have like their own printed bulletin board. Just
You would think that they would.
yeah, you would.
Okay,
They
so-
used to. I mean, a lot of them used to.
We'll put our energies into more receptive
Hmm.
sources.
But even if we put that architectural access
Yes, that's a good
on
one.
our list, our main
That's a
list,
good one.
so they'd always be getting an update of what we're doing, and you never know when it sticks.
And Margie, we do have a member of the public here, so we want to make sure we take any public comment on the PR for the sculpture calls. Kyle, did you have any interest in making a public comment? Okay, and we don't have anyone here in person, so I think you can close public comment for item B and item C.
So what is that? Is that a person or what? is
Yes,
that?
yeah, that is a member of the public.
That's what he
Okay.
chooses to put.
I
And
see.
it's-
Okay.
It's not a Zoom
Kyle.
bomber, it's a real citizen
Yeah.
in
What
town.
is that?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Good, good, good. Okay,
Oh,
so
yeah?
anything else on the third
Good.
call?
The
third call has gone out? I've forgotten. our
Yes, the
dates.
third call was posted exactly on November 1st. And as noted, we sent it out to the list and the parks. Parks folk, the regional parks, are partners in that, who are hosting with their site. And they've shared it with their commissioners. I actually have a Parks Measure M advisory committee tonight at 5. And so I will try to get word in on that as well, to that group as well, so they know. And then we have let Holly Hansen know, so she is posting to Facebook and some of the other social
good.
medias as we usually do. And as noted, I'm going to get a hold of the Sebastopol Times to hopefully do an article on it as well.
Wonderful.
So with that, I don't know our timing to complete this new list, but we could do another iteration and send it out again with these new people.
Yeah, well, anyone we add to the list, we'll
Mhm.
go ahead and keep
Okay.
sending them out. We won't necessarily, send, I mean, we can always send a reminder. The
Yeah.
call is not due until the end of January. So yes, there's definitely time to supplement the list and then make sure we
Oh,
get it out
good.
to those folks.
Okay.
So just, it's 10 to 2. So we have 10 more minutes, right?
No, we have an hour and 10 minutes. We
You have an hour.
An hour.
We have until
Sorry,
10 to 3.
switching the times around.
Yep. You have an hour, so you're
Okay,
going
good.
good.
Thank you. So I would like to say something about the bench. So every time I go there or see a photograph of the
What bench?
the bench at the location that's
Oh,
there
oh,
now,
yes,
which is kind of broken down and not great looking. I would suggest that we consider doing something about the bench in advance if we can. So one idea is removing it if we can. Another would be decorating it with the flyers or some sort of ribbons or something to bring attention there and put a notice there about the call. And then we can also, we have talked about the possibility that somebody might submit something that involved the bench. We could think about, if nobody does do that, what we might do for a bench. Yes, Robert.
If I may. The 2 concrete uprights are fine, the wood is not. And I will go and look and see how it's attached. It's something I have rebuilt before, not that bench, but other ones. So it's a matter of going and buying some Ipe, which is the appropriate wood that will last. And I will come back to you with what it would cost to buy that, and I would install it so that the bench looks decent where it is. And I just wouldn't ask, I'll just do it.
Thing is though, if what we want to do is to have that space available for sculpture, if we kind of I mean, that's a good possibility, and I'm not negating it, but I'm just saying if we reestablish the bench, that's
Well,
kind of-
I recommend strongly against doing that because the entire site needs development
yes,
based on what the sculpture is.
yes.
And we had discussed before,
Mhm.
working with whoever is chosen for the sculpture about whether the bench has a place there and if so, where.
Mhm.
But the topography of the site is uneven. It's very not level.
Mhm.
And the bench should be moved to an appropriate place during the placement of the sculpture when the whole site is being developed appropriately.
Mhm.
The bench could look nicer now,
Mhm.
and we could put a sign on it
Mhm.
saying that there is a call out for
Mhm.
public sculpture for this site, and I think that would be great.
Mhm.
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 Um, The sign would need to be weatherproof, and I'm not sure how that would get accomplished.
And graffiti proof.
Could
If
I,
somebody puts graffiti on the sign, it is, you know.
could I comment yet?
Let me just ask you one question. If you did that, or someone did that, is the bench easily movable with a
So-
cement
Yeah, with a
foundation?
forklift,
Margie?
absolutely.
Yes.
Sorry, Committee Member Harris has a question or a comment?
First of all, do we have the right to even do anything on that place? I mean, is that county property?
So, yeah, thank you.
And
Barbara, I did want to comment on
Okay,
that.
but I wanted to just continue that thread because I don't want us to think that we have the right to do anything that isn't our right. And I don't want to jeopardize relationships with any entity that could possibly happen. I mean, if you were to actually go ahead and do that on county property, I don't think, wouldn't we need a whole system of approval?
So thank you. I was actually waiting to try to
okay.
jump in on
I'm
this.
just kind of like, wow.
So yes, so we do need to remember that we have permission to, in partnership with regional parks on their land, install a sculpture. That doesn't give us the right to just do whatever we want to on the property. I did talk with their staff, however, about the site. And there's a couple of things. I had it shared. Let me just share. This is actually the picture we have on our website for the call. If you recall, on the south side of the site, there's that kind of informal trail next to the fence. They are fine with that completely going away and actually feel like it should go away. So that is not something that needs to be, an issue for the art piece at all. For the bench component, I did let them know, hey, it's not in the greatest condition. If someone proposes something that includes seating, and they actually thought that was a great idea, but if someone does that, then maybe we can just take that bench out. And if they don't, then maybe we would probably want to fundraise or somehow, refresh that bench as part of the coordination of the art installation. We didn't talk about doing anything now with it. And of course, if they wanted to, or if it's on some scheduled replacement, I think they'd probably talk to us, but they could certainly do whatever they want to with that. They're very happy to, I think, coordinate with us once we know what the sculpture is and what might make sense with it. I think if there's something temporary, like somehow using that bench to call attention to the call, I would want to let them know and just get their permission, but I think they'd probably be more than happy to have that be part of the process and to highlight it. I think, I know those folks well enough, having struggled through COVID and all that stuff with them together.
So the reason I brought attention to the benching was because if you put that picture back up, to me, when you look at the picture for a call, and if you just go by there, personally, I would rather it not be there, and that would be more, to me, it would be more stimulating and enticing to think about what could go there rather than looking at a ratty structure. If there is some way to, maybe moving it would be too much of a deal, but improve it the way it looks and put a notice about the call, I think that would be helpful.
I have a couple of comments. I live near there and I walk that trail a lot. There are people that use that bench a lot. They, at the beginning or the end of a walk or whatever, it's used often. And I agree that it's an unpleasant looking piece, but it also could be an inspiration for someone to think, oh, maybe I could do something with a bench in my sculpture, because we definitely don't want to keep that one. But I can't imagine removing it for any reason until we're ready to do something else just because people use it.
What about asking the regional parks if we could put some e-pay on there and a notice about the call, just to make it look nicer then?
I think the more important issue is to put a sign there
Okay.
saying
Yes,
that we have
that too.
a $25,000 commission for a sculpture to go on this site.
I think that's a good
Yeah.
idea.
Yep.
And here's where you go to
Right,
do
just
it.
put $25,000 in big letters
Right.
at the top.
And I think, yeah, just, shrink wrap it or not, I mean,
Well,
what do you call
if
it,
people
laminate
use
it.
it, if people are using it, as Barbara said, for their walks, then we need to put the sign in a way that doesn't.
Yeah, it could just be
Is there a
attached,
post
it
or
could be
something?
attached to the back of the bench,
Yeah.
Yeah.
or you-
Yeah.
Yeah.
right? Just literally going straight up, piece of plywood on the back of
Okay,
the
so
good
how
bench.
idea to
could
have
we
a
do that,
sign.
and what does it take to do that?
Does the city have a wide format inkjet?
Or what?
Wide
We
format
we
printer.
don't, but
Oh,
Sprint
oh.
and we've got people locally who can do that.
Sebastopol blue.
Well,
Yeah, Sebastopol Blue. There's a couple of local businesses that do
Right.
that. We can do 18 by 12 is the maximum we can do.
well,
Pretty exciting.
I'm thinking of something more like 3 by 4
Yeah.
feet.
Right.
And so a wide format printer and laminate it and attach it to a piece of plywood with a couple of stakes behind the bench and sort of tie it to the bench so it's stable.
Is that something the city could do?
And
So
then
we can
paint, then we
probably,
can paint the
our
bench.
Public Works can probably do the plywood
But not the
stakes
design
component
of, the
of it.
sign? Even if it's just printed information.
If you have text of what you would want it to be, Susie can probably design it, just like she did the flyer for the call, and maybe work with someone from this group.
Let's do it right now.
Make sure
We
it's
could
graphic.
ask Sprint if they would print it. I don't know whether they have a laminator, but
They do.
That's up
I
to
don't
you
know how
guys,
big,
right?
but they
Okay.
definitely do.
But
Yeah.
I think the city could take care of that. I think we should just write it right this minute and then give it to Susie and get it done.
Yeah, I think it can be.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, whatever-
A little bit of
Yeah.
text from the call, right? Just call
Yeah.
for artists.
Yeah.
And
Right.
the submission deadline.
The money and the
$25,000
deadline.
commission for sculpture for this site is open now.
Yeah,
And
boy.
here's the website.
You're gonna
Yeah,
get
that's right.
a lot of really interesting feedback.
Oh, and also the deadline.
And the deadline. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, so this is the information we have on the website.
That's a great title, right there, commission, public art commission or something. Yeah,
Yes.
right there. And then one liner and the money
and then
the date.
$25,000,
Yeah.
January
Yeah.
29th, and
Yeah.
a link.
That's right.
How about,
Yeah.
Okay.
how about rather than
Ah.
calls for artists, calls to artists?
Well, it's
I think
right
that's
there.
fine.
You like
And
that?
it, I mean,
Okay,
it
fine.
exists and
Okay,
it's part of our identity.
okay.
And have the city
Susie,
seal.
just on this site. So it's clear that we put the sign where the sculpture is going
Right.
to go.
Yeah.
Your sculpture here.
Yes.
And the picture
Basically.
of Margie
I thought about
standing
that.
there in with a raincoat.
And then
Well, I haven't gotten any other takers of other photographs. I think that'd be another option.
No, but this is a good
Just take a
idea.
picture of have someone take a picture of you standing there doing something, or, some sort of
His dog.
sculpture.
That'd be
No animals.
That would be great to
Could-
send out as part of our PR, because that's kind of a fun thing, a fun way to, a unique and an unexpected way to advertise a call.
Thank you, I thought so.
I
So
mean,
could
this
we,
too.
could we paint the bench also?
Yeah,
There's
right.
probably, the city, Public Works probably has a couple cans of some
I-
color that we could reuse.
But it's
you know.
still the county property.
So
right?
again, yeah, so if you
Well, but
want
we're
we
putting a
can-
sign on the county property, and Carrie said that they would probably be open to some.
yeah, I can
level-
ask. It's like I
That's
said, it's
true.
not,
If we could improve the bench.
Yeah.
let's try not to do guerrilla improvements on
That's what
someone
I'm
else's
thinking.
site, but if I ask, I'm sure.
Like they're
Yeah.
going to bitch about it.
Well,
Well, you
no,
know, all
if she's
you need
asking
is-
about the sign, at the
Yeah.
same time,
Yeah,
she can
that's-
ask
Yeah.
about, but a specific.
Exactly,
element.
exactly.
We want to suggest paint and or, what's it called again?
Well,
E-cap.
I would.
So the
believe
E-Pay,
that-
that's actually a wood, Margie, so
I
you're
know
talking
it
about
is.
replacing the
I-
whole, all
I
of the
just-
wood.
yeah.
Something huge.
I think it, leaving it,
Okay,
I think leaving it ugly is more enticing, because it's just like,
I like
wow, this
that.
thing is so awful.
Well, I
Let's-
think we should
let's
paint
do
it. I
something.
think painting is good.
No,
I don't
Make it
either.
stand out.
Yeah.
Actually,
That's all I'm
Like
saying. Not,
painting is frankly fussy because then you have to mask off the concrete.
Yeah, it really, leave it the
No,
way
you
it
don't.
is and let people imagine something better.
no, I agree with you, Barbara. I think there's something about that. Because you look at that
Okay.
picture, the rest of the
Yeah.
site looks pretty bad too,
It
right? Like
does.
we're gonna weed whack it or paint the fence behind it,
Yeah,
or
I
where do
mean,
you
the
stop?
sign will tell people we're gonna,
Yeah.
We're
This
gonna
nice.
make it
Yeah.
better. That's right.
You could.
Okay, good enough. So, we have set up to get permission and creation and installation of a sign.
Right. And so here is the text I have so far.
Great.
This is just, this is a simple Word document just to capture what we're talking about.
On this site, on this site.
site, after public art, next line, on this site.
Yeah, so there's no confusion. And I put on the
On.
next
yeah,
line.
make a break between art
Yeah.
and on.
Yes, there you go.
There we go.
Yeah, boy, that's
A
cool.
little color would be good.
You have to
There
include
you go.
What, like
commissioned,
that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
because it's a
Your
commission.
And the
but does it have to
$25,000. Put
say
that-
commissioned on
That
this?
should be
Make it
green.
green.
There's a whole,
It's just a lot of
but you
letters
know,
and a
we
lot of
need,
space.
also we need a way for them to get in touch with somebody.
Yeah, that's where we would just have the link.
Oh, yeah.
Is it
You know what,
possible to
Jeff?
put a
QR code.
Oh, a
QR
QR?
code?
oh, yeah.
I think we can figure that one out.
That would be great. That's how the world works these days.
Yeah.
Indeed.
So we can do this, and then we can do a.
Oh,
Do we
great.
need some little word after 25,000 just to clarify or
Oh, I
Tax-free.
think
clear it
it's-
up?
I think it's clear.
Okay,
It is not tax-free, actually. That's the problem.
what?
Any
It says
artist is gonna
commission
know what that
above that.
means.
Yeah.
That it's a
Okay.
commission. We don't want, yeah.
Okay. So, and obviously we'll format this and get this.
Okay.
Yeah.
We could put that over at the sculpture garden too, on the blank pads, except change the money and the deadline.
Well, yeah,
Nobody
you could have
wants
the
to change The
deadlines.
two
and-
fours? It
The
just
what?
seems very awkward to me, first line.
The two
No.
fours.
What?
Jeff,
Let's read it again. Call for artists for
For-
public art. I would also,
Yeah, 4 is the right word.
Yeah.
all right.
put that on the
How
next
about
line.
that? Just,
Oh, there you go.
take out a
There you
word.
go. City calls for
There
artists.
you go, thank you.
Good. I hope they know it only is one, but that doesn't matter.
and then we can put the city logo right kind of
Yeah,
over
good
there as
idea.
well.
This
So
is
that we'll
good.
get it.
Oh.
It should be
Make it
call for
official.
artists, no?
Calls for-
Call
Yeah,
for
city,
artists.
yeah, right. It's not the plural.
How
It's
about
one call for multiple.
commission public sculpture?
Well, we were talking about, there might be, would you consider if someone wanted mosaic, is that a
Well, that's,
sculpture?
yeah,
Sure.
it
Right,
depends on what
okay,
it's,
then
how it's
public
applied.
sculpture.
We are not looking for something two-dimensional on that side.
Okay,
Yeah, I think that's fair. The library
I'd put
did have some
sculpture-
murals,
put
but I don't think the
sculpture
site
back
is
up on
I
appropriate
think you
for
can
that.
put on this site on the same line as sculpture.
Mm. Well,
There you go. That looks good.
Public-
Well, like I
that's
said,
good.
this
I like
is
that.
fine.
public
This is
sculpture.
letter size on a landscape orientation, so this is simply to capture the text.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
So
think it's fine.
we'll figure out
okay.
how it actually works.
Removing the word art removes the phrase public art from it. And I think that public art is a
But we're,
recognized and important concept.
talking
Yeah,
to
but-
artists. It says artists.
I know that, but public art, that phrase.
No, it's
I-
redundant to me
It
now.
is
It's
redundant.
redundant
Me
and
too.
too wordy
It's-
with art in there.
It's unnecessary.
We want to make it clear we're looking for a sculpture.
All right.
Yeah.
And do we have a possible deadline, not deadline, but completion date for this?
I don't
Because
think
we-
that would be part of this
No, I mean,
poster.
just to
What?
know.
Oh,
No, I
it's-
mean, for us, when do you think?
So
we-
probably a week or two to
Oh,
get it
that's
up.
great. That's perfect.
Oh,
Maybe
for
one-
I
that.
mean,
Oh,
I
right,
need to
maybe.
contact regional parks, make
Yeah.
sure they're okay with it, and then Public Works. And if hopefully the storm's not so bad that they have a lot of localized flooding and things like that. But,
Oh, that's good. That's
And
good.
Lovely.
the contact, can I see what the contact is here? What is it?
And there's
so
also
we
gonna be
have,
a
we're gonna have
URL
the QR code
Yeah, but for people who don't read those,
and then the website.
You don't read it, you just hold your phone up to
I
it.
know that.
Oh,
Okay.
see you
Not
now.
everybody has a phone.
Really?
Okay, but I
Or
I
speaks-
prefer to read actual words myself.
Well,
There's a lot
then
of
those
them
are
right
the
there.
actual words.
That's what I wanted to see.
Yeah, and we'll
Yeah,
get, we'll
thank
get
you.
that to fit on one line.
Oh, this is good. This is a
Selection
good thing
of
to
public
do.
art commissions.
Well, you could probably get a smaller,
Special public.
we can
Art
see if we can
commission.
change that a little bit. Yeah,
That's-
we can either
that's
get a
just a
tiny
tiny
URL
little
or something
page.
like that.
Yeah.
We get some magnets for our cars.
Yeah, really.
There you
And
go.
Okay.
hats and
A
t-shirts.
tiny URL would be nice.
Yes, URL is
Yeah,
important, but I.
We'll,
also
we'll do a
like
tiny
actual
URL.
words.
That's why it's not the same. We'll probably put the city of Sebastopol.gov as well, just so they,
Sure.
Yeah, there may be a lot of people that are going to be noticing this.
Yes,
I
Yeah.
think this is a great
be.
idea. We actually
Yeah.
did something pretty significant today.
Yeah.
I think that, what was that? Like 13,500 car trips a day. Remember when we
Yeah,
had that
yeah.
discussion
It is.
several
Yes.
months ago? So
That's
13,000 vehicles a day. Yeah,
Can-
there you go.
Can it,
And how
will
many
it be able to be
pedestrians?
read from
We're gonna be
afar?
we're gonna be inundated with
Yeah.
with
Lots of
submissions.
Yeah, except for the
Cans.
cars that
Will
park
this
there and
sign
block
be
the
able to be
view.
read from a car?
Except
Maybe
for
it's
that.
time.
And then we'd have to put it on the front of the bench. If it's going to be
I
on the
thought we had a
front.
sign.
No, you
putting
need
up
to
like
leave
that.
the bench so people
Yeah.
can still sit on
Right.
it.
Yeah, you
It
don't
would
want to
be
block the
behind and
bench.
above the back of the bench.
Right.
Or to the side of it,
Yeah,
potentially.
yeah.
If it's to the side, then people who are sitting in traffic would certainly be able to read it. If it's,
Mhm.
Wait, do you mean the
Whatever the
side
city wants to
facing,
do.
The road.
facing the road, not facing
correct,
this way?
correct. It would be space the sidewalk, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So both,
yeah.
both walkers and drivers.
Yeah, the
Yes.
sidewalk,
Make
exactly.
sure it's drivers. Excellent. Thank you. Thank you, bench.
Better than
Okay,
getting rid of it.
okay, anything else on third commission?
Well,
Have we had any response at all?
Okay. I have to save that to the folder.
Susie, have we had any response?
No responses
Not
yet.
yet, okay.
Yeah,
I
and
think
it's still
we should-
pretty
I
early
think we
for
should have
this
E
one.
before D, so that we're still on calls. here.
Yes, okay, thank you. We'll do that. So we go to E before D.
can I interrupt for just a moment? I have a clarification on the PR with the artist group in terms of art trails. Is the contact for art trails on this list? Someone?
Oh,
That's
Here.
the
I was going to
Sebastopol
do
Center.
that with the Sebastopol Center for the Arts.
Both art trails and,
I didn't get
and
the list.
the art at the source are under the.
Unworthy.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
Unworthy.
Yes, can I see yours, please? Oh, how nice.
Yes.
You made notes on yours.
Okay,
There's
next.
there's
Yeah,
our
exactly.
section.
Yep, yep, yep. Have the same picture.
Okay. So.
Okay, so that's item 5C. Let's make sure we call for any public comment, Margie. You need to ask for public
Oh,
comment on the
is there any
items.
public comment?
Okay, I'm not
Okay.
seeing any.
Onward to E. And D will be last.
I have an E.
Yes,
I had another communication with Robert Michael Smith.
oh, okay.
A granite and marble sculptor with kind of looked like computer designed pieces. And he's out of town, but said that when he gets back before the deadline, he will submit one.
Good.
Okay.
Are there any other submissions? Nothing for CSG either.
Well, there's one.
There's
Peter,
one.
Peter
Well,
Crompton.
that Crampton.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to lean on the Sebastopol Center for the Arts hard because while that's our sculpture walk, it looks like it's theirs.
Mhm.
And it does not it isn't good PR for them to have empty sculpture bases next door to the building, and I'm going to ask them to be as avid about finding sculptures for there as we are, and to really work on it, send the flyer itself directly to their email lists for all the artists that they know, and
Yeah, it'd
ask them to promote it.
be nice to look at it as a partnership almost,
Yes.
between the city and this is a good opportunity to do so.
And some of the sculptures are on their property.
Mhm.
Well, I think we should,
Set
we'd have to have a discussion, and if we want to change the relationship of the CSG to the art center, then we need to have a discussion and vote on it
Mhm.
and clarify
I
that.
wasn't suggesting that.
Well, when we bring up the word partnership, then that's,
I wasn't going to use the word
Well, someone did.
partnership.
I did.
so
But then
I
the-
just want to clarify that we need to.
I would assume the city council would need to be apprised of that as well, or requested to
Right, so at
investigate
this
that.
point, let's just
I
focus
was
on what
not-
we can do.
I'm simply going to lean on them
Yes,
to
no, it's
promote
fine.
it.
I just needed to respond to that. Yeah. Oh, I have a question on I'm looking up there and I see Carrie, which looks very nice. In the videotaping of the meeting, are you the only image?
No, the community center
Cameras.
room.
Oh,
The
that-
cameras over
this is the
there.
room. I see.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yep.
Okay, and then.
And that's the main one, basically. So
Yeah.
the others are just, we're watching.
Okay. Submit.
No, we're on
Oh, I
the-
know. I just, while we're talking about the CSG, for future reference, I would like people to just consider in terms of timeline. Now, we had changed the timeline from 1 year to 2 years. And when I walk by there, it's really nice. And if we get the additional ones filled, that will be even better. I have to say my initial idea, which was different than Warren's, was that things be there for a while and not to rotate it. And maybe there's some way to open for change, but not necessarily just everybody changes in 2 years. They're all
Well,
gone.
we had this conversation, and what we said
Yes,
was that we would offer a 2-year extension to
Yes.
anybody whose piece is already there,
Mhm.
if they wanted to.
Mhm.
And so that would be a resubmission
Mhm.
of
Yes.
their piece.
yes. So
Isn't
I'm
that
just,
what you're talking
no,
about?
it's not.
It's not.
I'm just saying, let's just keep in our minds and maybe talk about at some point having longer commitments for the sculpture, from us to the sculptors and from the sculptors to us.
Why
And
are
speaking
you
of longer-
suggesting that, Margie?
What?
Why are you suggesting that?
It's just when you think about sculpture gardens, often things are there for quite a while, in museums or so on. And just think about balancing the enjoyment and entertainment and community connection of opening it up for more on one hand, and on the other hand, having some sort of stable exhibit,
Mhm.
stable
I think
presence of sculpture in
That's
the garden.
that's a nice idea. I think we're having trouble getting more sculptures on the pad, so it seems like it's a point to be considered years in the future when there's actually sort of more submittals coming in.
Yes, after we have the new ones, before there would be another call after this one, we might consider that and talk about it.
I was just going to add that I think, originally when the CSG started up and we started with the original timelines, we thought there would be a lot of artists, offering their pieces up in these commissions. And I would also add into that discussion at some point, maybe even asking artists, giving them the option of donating their art and letting the city know what their value is on that piece of art so they could get a tax write-off if that's a possibility. And then you'd have some permanent pieces there.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, and I don't know how other sculpture gardens work, but yes, if you had, I mean, I know we have other locations where we have sculptures as well in town, and one of the things that was, I think, discussed back when as well, could some of those be relocated to there? And the decision was kind of made to, well, let's, leave the coyote by the senior center and the fish thing over here by Public Works is
And the polar bear.
more suited. Yeah, exactly. And so we've got sculptures around town, and we had at one point discussed, would it make sense to take some of those and put them in the sculpture garden? But that could, and of course, those would be potentially permanent as well. But yeah, are there some that the city might want to buy or get donated to have there permanently? Or do you at some point transition to where they're kind of semi-permanent, and if they're sold, then they're sold, and now you have an opening that you would do a call for, instead of trying to do 8 at a time like we did with the original opening, or the 4 or 5 that we're doing now, because the additional pads, is that more stability, and is that easier for the Public Art Committee to manage, but still introduces new art over time? It's probably worth a future discussion on that. I mean, I think you can certainly talk about it under the call right now if you want to, but as agendized, but if you want to have kind of a further discussion now or in the future, you can certainly let me know.
And let me just add to that just perspective that before there were sculptures just popping up hither and thither. And a lot of them were from Sculpture Jam, but not all of them. And the idea initially for the sculpture garden was those kinds of sculptures could be in the sculpture garden. In addition, the sculptures that just popped up in various places on city property were only supposed to be there a maximum of 2 years. And therefore, all the ones that are out are way beyond that and could be moved to the sculpture garden. And we would need to work with the artists on that. But theoretically, those other sculptures are beyond their shelf date for that. So that's another reason why that could happen.
There are 2 sculptures owned by the Sebastopol Center for the Arts, which could potentially go there on a permanent basis. One of them is the sort of cube thing at the northeast corner of the town square. It's white, has letters kind of cast in it. It's a bit damaged.
The kids would be pretty disappointed.
Yeah, they sure would.
Oh, yes.
On Farm Market
Just
Day.
saying,
Yeah.
it does belong, as I understand it, to the Sebastopol Center for the Arts. The other one is one of Warren Arnold's whale sculptures. He created a trail along the coast. There were 8 sculptures. There's a brochure and a website about it and so on. One of them was in Big Sur, and the hotel where it was took it down and potentially still have it in storage. At the time, I was looking for a new placement in Bodega Bay or something, and when I left the board, and I was not able to find some place for it, and it may still be in storage. It would require somebody to drive to Big Sur in a truck and bring it home and install it, which I was willing to do at the time if I had found a place for it. I'm going to guess that since there's been such a transition in personnel at the center, that nobody knows that Warren donated all 8 of those sculptures to the center, and that they own them all and could retrieve that one if they wanted, but I will bring it up. But that would be in the context of what is the process by which we decide that, and I'm just using this as an example, that the center wanted to retrieve that Warren Arnold sculpture and put it there on a permanent basis, what do we need to do to say, this is how many permanent sculptures can be there, and this is the process for deciding on one?
Robert, are you absolutely sure that the Art Center owns all those pieces?
I am.
Okay, because I remember that happening, and I remember when he donated them, but I thought he donated them to the county,
To what?
to the county.
No, to the center. I was on the board at the time.
Well, and regardless of that, I think Robert's question of how do you decide if you have a mix of permanent and temporary sculptures, that I think would be up to this committee.
Mhm.
Well, do we want to have an agenda item to have that conversation before approaching the center about whether they want to do it?
I would probably recommend, so you have a current call out, I would probably recommend you allow that to close first and then review any submissions that you have. And then as part of that, we could also agendize. So that's December 12th because the deadline is December 7th, I believe. So we could agendize, modifications
For the next
to how
meeting.
the sculpture garden is being handled in terms of temporary versus, more permanent, or, permanent for how long. And
Madam
Unlimited
President, would
time,
you like to see
kind of a
that on
thing.
the agenda for the December meeting?
Yes, and I'm also thinking that if we don't have enough entries for the four, we might, but if we don't, then at that point, when we have that discussion in December, perhaps, it might be more pertinent and pressing than we have thought before, that we could incorporate some these other possibilities if there are extra platforms that have not been filled. So yes, let's put it in December, although, we may, so that would be assuming that we're not going to extend the call again, the deadline for the call again, which I think is appropriate, because I think extending it once is one thing, extending it twice is
Maybe so, but
a bit much.
so I think the time frame discussion is a good one to have, but I think I would encourage, if any of these ideas, Warren sculpture, for example, I'd still reach out to them and just pretend it's another entry into the call, without telling, unless it's really necessary for that person or that artist or that organization to know, is it going to be up there forever versus a year or two? Why not approach them anyway? Because we have paths that want sculptures, and we have one entry so far.
Well, you're talking about discussing with the sculptors, and one of those sculptors is Warren.
So we
And
have
Warren is the one who
great.
set it up that they would just be there a year. And also Warren is someone who is, from the moment he was no longer on the committee, was certainly welcome to submit his sculpture and knew about it.
Right, but we know of a particular sculpture
Okay.
done by Warren
Good.
that Robert is interested to potentially bring to it. So,
Okay.
yeah, we can't assume Warren is thinking about this at all.
Yes, okay, fine, good.
I,
So do we want to contact?
So,
Yeah.
Warren, Robert, are you able to reach out to Warren
Sure.
about that? So I think that's, again, because you have an open call to not discuss selection of them.
Right.
But if you let him know that,
So
We'd be happy
let
to have
me,
them submit.
let me understand. I can call Warren and ask if he is willing to submit that piece for the call for temporary placement before we have a conversation about whether permanent placement is acceptable. But this also, of course, involves the center who own it. So I'm not sure how you want me to phrase this to both of them.
well, if the center owns it, does Warren need to be involved at all?
Well, I would think it impolite not to,
Well, maybe, but we better to talk with the center first and then.
because
Warren.
what Warren wanted was for it to be on the coast so that it would have a
Yeah.
new location, but still be part of that chain that he
Mhm.
built. And so Warren might object to it being there even if the center wanted to, and I would assume that they would defer to his wishes on that. Although if somebody doesn't go and fetch that thing sometime, God knows where it's going to go.
So what I think what we're trying to do is brainstorm to how to get more art, more submissions for the CSG. To go into any particular one in detail is not really appropriate, I think. It's just like, if you have an idea, go figure out how to get it to there. Otherwise, go to the next one. To me, whether it's Warren or Joe, it doesn't, the idea now is just to get more pieces there.
Mhm.
This still has to go through our approval, so yeah, why not
And
consider it?
Yeah.
Along with that, since it was mentioned, the coyote, we would need to contact the artist. Is there, Carrie, a way to do that?
Are we sure we want to start relocating existent work? Because what if people really like where it is, the viewers and all? I mean, it seems a little odd that we're going to be moving things around.
So I think this is we're getting into, I think Lars is correct. We're getting into detailed discussion about individual sculptures while the call is still open. This was an update on the call, not details about permanent versus. I think what we should do is we have the call open for a couple more weeks. Agendize on your next agenda the sculpture garden, and we can do the submissions that we have, because we don't know at this point how many submissions we will have between now and then. You as individuals are certainly welcome to contact any artist, just as you have been doing throughout the call, to encourage them to apply, to submit under the current call guise. But we can also agendize discussing the structure of the sculpture garden and temporary versus permanent, other public art that's in town, relocations, all of that kind of stuff at that time,
Okay.
if that is
Well, I just want to clarify.
the direction it seems we're going.
I'm not going to call Warren unless we know that it can be there permanently, because it's just not that easy a thing to do. And if it isn't there permanently, it has no place to go after that.
Okay, so I would say you would need to wait until after your next meeting, when the
That's what I'm
committee
saying I
has
would do.
discussed and made a decision on that as an agendized item.
If we decide that there can be permanent sculptures there, I would follow that thread.
Okay, for the December meeting, my understanding is that is the time that we would be selecting the entries for the CSG.
Mhm.
I don't know if we might have time at that meeting then to discuss the CSG possible permanent sculptures.
Well, if we
I
run out
think
of
that's
time,
a-
then we'll defer it.
Okay, should we put it on the agenda
I
then
want
for
to add,
December?
yeah, but are we talking about specifics now, or just that as an item? Because I have
That as an
something.
item to
Oh,
discuss.
okay, because I have another specific.
Okay.
And I-
Wait, should we put that on the December? Yes, good.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
I think it makes sense to
Yes.
focus on the sculpture garden at the next meeting, because you'll have the call, you'll have all the information you need, and we can agendize. And so Barbara, if there's a topic related to it, or is it a specific sculpture that
No, it's a question about the sculpture garden, not about the sculptures.
Yeah,
Because, so this is a really dumb question, but was the intention when you guys figured this all out to have a sculpture garden there, that those pads and those sculptures were permanent? Or is Ives Park under a remodel contingency?
I can answer that one.
Okay.
So the Ives Park master plan does exist for kind of remodeling, revamping, revitalizing Ives Park. It was adopted in 2013. It included the sculpture garden. So this is actually incorporated into the new plans, or the new plans don't completely undo that. It's the work that we have done to date is how to implement the naturalization of Calder Creek which was called
Mhm.
for in the original, but it
Mhm.
was a simple blue line on a set of plans and didn't have an actual like hydrology study and, creek health and all that kind of stuff, which has now been done. That does not eliminate the sculpture garden. It may realign require, relocation of a couple of paths, but other than that, the sculpture garden does stay where it is.
Okay, and good, that's.
And that's always been the intent, is that as you're
Okay.
coming in, there will be a trail coming in from High Street to the park that goes either by, as it does now, or through with potentially, the only revision that may happen is there may actually be room for sculpture pads on either side
Mhm.
of the trail instead of just the one side like it is now.
Okay, good, and that answers my question, thank you.
Okay. Other comments, questions, suggestions? We're moving on to D.
Oh, yeah.
NEDCON update, yeah.
What?
Okay.
NEDCON update.
Yeah.
What?
Yes.
Yes.
The answer is
NEDCON,
yes.
Right. Okay, D, update on NEDCON installation. So we'll hear from Carrie, and also I had a conversation with Ned a few days ago. So, and also by email. So Carrie, you want to?
Should make, Margie, you probably have more recent
Okay.
information than I do,
All
so
right.
I can very quickly give you mine, which is the building permit has been finalized. They have not yet applied for their encroachment permit, but I did talk with our engineering and public works because they'll probably need access from Highway 12, which is Caltrans, but that is generally an encroachment permit. Temporary encroachment permit like that generally goes through our public works and engineering departments. And that's usually the foundation, a company that would have that, that would apply for that encroachment permit.
Which company? The
It's
what?
usually the foundation. So Ned and Greg, his assistant, our collaborator, have been in contact with me about we're in contact with the foundation company to do the installation of the
Ah,
helical piers.
okay.
That's usually the company because they're a foundation company they're used to and they have the insurance required for that type of thing. But we have not yet received the application from them yet. So
From
Margie,
who?
from the
And
so we have the building permit. We do
Uh-huh.
not have the public works roadway encroachment permit yet
From NEDCON?
from
I
NEDCON
see.
or his foundation.
So I can
contractor.
speak to that a bit.
Oh, good.
Okay, so, Ned is working really hard to get this installed. And, he said, as he said at the end, he said, like some projects move through fairly smoothly and some don't. And this one has had a lot of difficulty. And one of the current difficulties in terms of access is the owners of the building that's just adjacent to it. And they're being, shall we say politely, they're being difficult and not wanting him to have access and bringing up a lot of reasons why they can't, which made things very difficult for him. And he was struggling with that. And then he said, fortunately, there is a tree service company that has land also adjacent on the other side. And I've forgotten their name.
Atlas.
What?
Atlas.
No,
No?
it was a different name. Sanborn.
I think it's Sanborn.
Oh,
Yeah,
Sanborn.
I think it's Sanborn there.
We actually know too. Anyway, and they said, oh, sure, how can we help? So now he's working on doing the access through them. And obviously, costs are increasing in terms of what this is costing him to do. And he has one possible source of some additional support for that. And so I suggested that maybe he wanted to come and talk with us about this and update us and let us know from him what was going on. And he said, his counter suggestion was we could come to his studio. He'd be glad to have us there if we wanted to come for a meeting. And then I said, well, it might be a little difficult to do that. Could he come? And he said, well, maybe you could just come as invited guests or a special meeting or something. So
Well,
I'm bringing that up as a possibility.
He could just join the meetings.
He could have, I put that up too as a possibility for him to Zoom with us, but he didn't. And I don't know what his schedule like. It's like, you know what, I'm always surprised to see him because I know he travels internationally and he's very, he's pretty busy. Anyway, so we could think about if we want to, as a group, go over there and have him talk to us about this. And my other idea was that we might have some ideas to help support what he's doing for the city and for art. And, do we have any ideas just that we might give him about where he could get some financial support or other kind of support? And another idea I had was in installation, when the installation time comes, what's needed? Maybe we could have a work party or help him organize a work party or give him the ideas or think about somebody who might help him. I think that it would be helpful if we consider this project as it is rather than as we think it should have been or should be. It's wonderful from my perspective, and given my history with this from the beginning, it's a wonderful opportunity. It's a wonderful offering. And I'd like to support it in whatever ways we can and work in as supportively as we can for the project. Yes.
Just to kind of clarify, so you brought up access. He was having some access issues, which hopefully are going to be cleared up now. I'm just curious why you wouldn't come off Highway 12. Maybe there's issues there, but anyway. And then he stated that he has all the materials in place, ready to go, or is all the fabrication done? Did he
did not
update you
say
on that at all?
Carrie would know about that better than I would. I didn't talk to him about that.
And I have a question to piggyback to. Is this all news? I mean, is this all stuff that's happened recently, these struggles and problems and difficulties? I mean, it seems to me that encroachment issue would have been fairly well.
So there's two components to it, and some of it I know he's been working on for the last couple of months or so. One is the foundation component of it, and that's helical piers. It's not concrete that get kind of drilled into the ground. That's the part that my understanding, talking to Greg and Ned, that would come in through Highway 12 and be put in. The actual sculpture part of it, he was trying to work with, as Margie said, the commercial building, that's a commercial office building that's in that area, to put a crane in there to actually mount the sculpture onto the foundation. And he couldn't negotiate that, so that's where the tree company, getting his crane into there is his current solution for that. So those are the logistics he's been working on probably the last two and a half months or so.
But, and Margie, he's asking for financial support? Or
No,
is
not from us. He didn't ask us for that.
So is he saying that the costs have gone up, he needs financial support?
Well, he mentioned to me that he was talking to someone about it because he was concerned. And that person said, well, let me give you some money to help support it.
And so, yeah.
And then I thought about it and I thought, well, maybe we have some other ideas about how he could get financial or other support that, we could brainstorm.
But this meeting he was talking about scheduling was for that? He wanted us to come to his studio.
It was my suggestion that he come here,
right?
To talk to us about it. He said, well, you can meet at the studio.
But that idea was for financial questions, or
it was my idea that we might be able to have that would be helpful for us to hear from him what was going on, because I know that members have had questions. That's number one, just to hear from him, rather than you just hear from me. Two, that we might be able to think and come up with some suggestions that might be helpful for him and support what he's trying to do.
Once we hear what he needs.
Right, when we hear from him, and then someone might say, well, I'll talk to so-and-so. I know someone who da-da-da-da. Or maybe if you want to do a work party, how about da-da-da-da? Whatever. That was my idea, not his.
I wanted to just say, and I'm not trying to come across naively here. I mean, I revere Ned, but this is a commission. This has been a long haul. I'm a little frustrated actually to hear some of these updates. But I don't want to be naive about, the state of artists and materials and all the costs involved, but this is taking a long time. That's just my personal response to that.
I want to second that too, and I wouldn't call it naivete necessarily. I'd call it like what's going on. And my concern is if he doesn't have this financial support, which I think is something new, his need for it, is that going to influence the project?
No, I think that, again, I'm just talking about my impression, not something he said specifically,
Uh-huh.
okay? My impression is that he's committed to doing it and he will do it.
Well,
That
yeah.
it's costing him more, increasing more than he even expected
Mm-hmm.
and even updated and expected.
Uh-huh.
I don't think he's asking us for funding. I think that it's become more difficult than he expected,
Well,
but that he has a commitment and he's going to do it.
and the length of time too has influenced whether or not it's more financially difficult.
Yes, the length of time, and there's a number of reasons for that,
Mm-hmm.
one of which is the pandemic. Another of which is Caltrans.
I remember all those. I'm just trying to figure out, why they still exist as impediments. And does he have any idea when he's going to install this? Did he mention dates to you at all? Because I think at our last meeting or one of our updates, there was some kind of a January, target. And I'm wondering if he has, I think I agree that this is taken. I think there's an accountability thing here going on too. We keep going and asking him. It'd be really helpful if he would tell us, because it is a commission and there is, I think there was a schedule initially that not being adhered to. It'd be great if we were apprised of that rather than asking whether we go to him or he comes to us. But my basic question with those concerns in mind are, does he have any estimated time of arrival here with all these problems that he's confronting? And I'm surprised that he wouldn't, or somebody wouldn't have known that a neighbor or an existent business would be consulted with their agreement to have a crane go through their driveway. I mean, it just seems that there's always one thing or another that's getting in the way of the installation.
Well, I don't know whether there was a change in terms of the neighbor or not.
Mhm.
And in terms of pricing us, in my experience, that Carrie has been updating us because she's been in touch, and that's how he's been apprising us.
Mhm.
But if the committee feels there's some other way that we would like information, then
Well-
we can.
Yeah, right now I'd like to know if he
Look
has
at
any idea when he thinks this is going to happen.
It seems to me that it's completely in our right to ask him to give us an update directly, either in person or via email or on Zoom. Like, this is a commission from this committee, right? You've talked to him, like clearly something's up, so to speak, like some things are not completely resolved, the schedule money, just have him give us an update. That seems like a very easy
Yeah, and
request.
I can schedule that for, the December 12th meeting for sure.
Yeah, by then, whether he wants to
I could
come
also
here
do
or
the-
he wants to
yeah.
just send us an email, like, well, it could be that,
Yeah,
right?
and a date that he expects to have this complete. He's a professional. He should be able to figure out, with all these things going on, how long this is going to take, how much that's going to cost. Is that going to get in the way? I mean, it's almost as if we're starting all over again to find out information from him.
Well, I just happened to run into him.
Yeah, no, I'm just
Yeah.
looking at you because, you're the chair, but I think that somehow this delay seems to be ongoing rather than the actual execution is ongoing. You know what I mean? That it feels like every month we're trying to find out when this is going to happen, and every month there's a whole another list of things that are getting in the way. And yes, he's very famous and he does really beautiful work and all that stuff, but he's also been commissioned, and there was an expectation, and I think that he's responsible for, dealing with that.
So how do you feel that we should be appraised?
I want to know when he thinks it's going to happen. I mean, seriously.
Well, I think just giving us an update, including the schedule, and that
Yeah.
can,
As the-
isn't that a simple enough request? Just what's the status? What are things, he can give us as much detail as he wants on what's happening and when does he expect to be done?
So would you like that to go through Carrie, or how would you like that to happen?
I think that makes sense. I mean, he's got the contract with the city, right? That's how it's executed. And what I can do is I can ask him for a written, and if, depending on those responses, we can potentially schedule him to address the committee at your next meeting.
And then he'll be on the agenda again.
Hmm?
Then it'll be on the agenda again, right?
Yeah.
And it should be until it's in place.
For sure.
Okay, are we going to have enough, if we put that also on the December agenda, are we going to have enough time for everything?
Sometimes
Yes.
things get pushed to the next, but we
Okay.
have
Well,
two minutes.
they,
No, I think that's okay. Like I
Yeah.
said, I'll get a letter in the interim, so you'll have information. It won't be the first time you're seeing or processing something.
We have 2 minutes.
So,
2
and I
minutes?
do, just because we have,
The
Oh,
meeting
I
has to
thought
be
it was
over in
done.
2 minutes.
I'm sorry, I apologize because now I'm thinking 3 o'clock. Okay, planning department report.
actually, can you take public comment on the item that you just did?
Okay, public comment on the item we've just been discussing.
Is there any public comment via Zoom? Please raise your hand.
Anybody in the audience who wants to make a public comment?
Okay.
Yeah, don't get me going.
Okay, I don't see any public comment on that.
Okay.
Thank you, Margie.
Planning department report, anything beyond what we've already discussed?
I think we've discussed most of the things relevant to this committee. Today, there is a planning commission and a special from 6 to 7 tonight, and a special city council meeting at 7 to talk about a potential ballot measure. And the planning commission is a use permit for Animal Kingdom that is in the Barlow to move across the street. So not a hugely earth-shattering, but it is a public hearing.
Animal Kingdom?
It's a veterinary clinic.
oh,
Sorry, veterinary clinic.
Are those the people who have that building already on,
Yes,
12?
yes, the historic structure
Oh,
that's right
okay.
next to the community market. No, it's a veterinary clinic that's in the
Any
Victorian.
updates on the hotel?
Oh, sorry. They are still waiting for their federal approval of archaeology, so they can, because the archaeology is the first thing they need to do before they can build the hotel. Yeah, that's the Hotel Sebastopol on the square. Yep.
that hasn't happened there. Never mind. It just looks funny that sitting.
There, well, COVID and the pandemic and the recent economics has impacted a lot of businesses. We do have another business down, the Round Table renovation is on hold for the same kind of financing reasons. So
But-
it's a pretty tough environment out there right now.
But isn't it the case that they have to do archaeology because of some of the funding they're
Correct.
getting?
Yes,
Right.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's intertwined with their funding, yes. I mean, they have to do
'Cause-
archaeology because of
But they would have done that
Approval
2
anyway.
years ago or something if they didn't have this funding issue.
right, exactly. The hope that, and that's where COVID, everyone basically had to start over if they were doing financing for hospitality and that type of thing.
Yeah.
and the other business on Main Street, that was a big complex of
That's the old.
The livery,
Yeah, that's called the livery.
That's what she was just talking about.
they're
Oh,
trying
I'm
to
sorry, I
get.
thought you were talking about the hotel.
The old Round Table Pizza is now.
The old Round
Oh,
Table
I got it,
Pizza
I got it,
is
okay.
the farm to table cooperative or what called the livery. Yes, they have let us know that it is on hold.
Okay, thank you.
Again, because of interest rates and financing and, it's pretty
I see.
difficult out there for folks, for businesses.
Okay, all right. Can we adjourn? Any other things that people want to speak to? before
No, I
we-
just wanted to recognize Carrie, Zuzi, What's your name?
Cody.
Cody. Thank you,
Cody.
Cody. Yeah, for being here and for your work.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
And Jeff, thanks for being here yourself.
Yes, thank you for changing your
Thank
schedule.
you. It's delightful to be back.
Yeah. Okay. This meeting is adjourned.
Robert, you want to come down and get